Corsair have just launched 3 new gaming mice, which are all pretty different, but they're also all basically the same price, so I thought I'd make one video to showcase all 3 and kind of give you an idea of which one might be for you, if any, and kind of talk you through them all. So let's jump into it. The 3 new mice that they've launched are the Ironclaw RGB, which is actually, ironically, a palm grip mouse, not a claw grip one, but I guess we'll give that a pass. The M65 RGB Elite, which is an upgrade of their now pretty old design, and the wireless version of the Harpoon, which now has their new slipstream wireless technology, and we'll cover all of that and the main differences in a sec. Let's run down each of the mice and give you a bit of an idea of who they're for, and then we'll go into, you know, which one might be for you and if any of them are worth the around £60 or £55 price tag and similar numbers in dollars. So let's start off with the Ironclaw. This one is definitely a larger sized mouse. It actually molds to your hand quite nicely, but even my medium to large size hands don't even kind of fit on here. This is definitely for the larger sized hand. It actually has the Pixart PMW 3391 sensor. It's actually a custom sensor for Corsair here, which delivers up to 18,000 DPI and can be controlled in 1 DPI increments, which is actually pretty impressive. On both of the sides of the mouse you have rubber grip surfaces, which are actually pretty nice and easy to hold onto, although on the ring and pinky finger side you don't specifically have somewhere to put those, unlike the Razer Naga Trinity, which has a groove and a rubber pad that's very clearly kind of designed to hold them there, but it's still pretty comfortable, although as I mentioned it is just probably a little bit too big for even my hands. I would mention it also has 2 very well placed, very well sized for the size of the mouse, and also very well supported and tactile feel side buttons. It also has 2 DPI and profile switching buttons on the top, which control the LEDs on the side of the mouse. The front button controls the profile, which changes which color and position the LEDs are in to tell you which profile you're in, and then the back one changes the DPI, which is shown by the blue levels, so 1, 2, and 3, and all of that can be controlled in the Corsair IQ software, as can be done for any of the other mice, and can also be used for controlling the lighting options and also controlling any actions that you want to place on any of the extra buttons. Moving on to the M65 Elite, this is actually, as I said, an upgrade to their nearly 10-year-old design now. Obviously the M60 was essentially the same looking mouse, the same weight system on the bottom. By the way, the weights here are 9 grams each, so that's screw plus weight, and you have 3 of them. You can use this to balance it, but overall the mouse goes from about 100 grams to about 120 with other weights out or weights in, which doesn't make it the lightest FPS mouse available, but still, you know, quite nice. It's also got a very nice quality feel with its now standard for the design metal base plate and a sort of rough plastic on the sides, which do actually provide a fair bit of grip when you're holding onto it. It also has a glossy top coat, which is a little bit strange. I'm not the biggest fan, but even in white, I think this does look pretty stylish, and obviously the sort of silver plastic accents along with the silver braided cable also go a long way to making this a very stylish mouse. On the left-hand side of the mouse is where you'll find the 3 extra buttons. You have 2 decently sized, well-supported tactile side buttons, sort of forward and backwards or whatever else, and a sniper button. Now the sniper button is actually pretty large, well placed, and very easy to have a tactile feel with, and again also well supported. And if you're wondering why you want a sniper button, that's to change your DPI on the fly, so when you're aiming down sight with a scoped weapon in game, normally FPS games, you get effectively more accuracy when doing smaller movements but with bigger kind of movements on the desk, which makes it a bit easier to be accurate when, well, sniping. That feature is actually something that is in a lot of games already, including games like Rainbow Six Siege, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and a load of others, so you may find your kind of usage with that function may vary, but for games that don't support it, or if you want an even extra step of accuracy, then you can have that on the fly as well. As I said, you can also customize that button in the IQ software. You can change what DPI it sets to, or completely change its function to something, as I said, completely different, so the customizability is definitely a nice option. Switching over to the Harpoon Wireless, this one is actually pretty interesting. It's a much smaller mouse than even the M65 and is more suited for either smaller handed people or people who really like to claw grip their mouse. Now, there's actually a new set of wireless technologies here. It's Corsair's Slipstream Wireless. This is actually really pretty impressive. It still uses the 2.4 GHz band, but it has Corsair's intelligent frequency switching sort of setup, where essentially it can change which channel it's using to get the best and strongest signal for you, even in crowded airspace. You also have sub 1 millisecond response time with the mouse, at least to the receiver anyway, which is actually really impressive when it comes to wireless technologies. Logitech has something similar with their G900, but obviously this is now, you know, a bit more competition in the really fast wireless space. You can also use Bluetooth 4.2 with this, which is awesome to see, and means that even if you forget the literally included in a little slot at the bottom of the mouse wireless dongle, then you can use this with your laptop or whatever else, and of course just means that you get a bit of extra functionality with an already pretty impressive mouse. In terms of battery life, they say that with the 2.4 GHz slipstream connection, with the RGB lights on, you get about 30 hours. With the RGB lights off, still on 2.4 GHz, you're looking at 45 hours. And apparently with the Bluetooth connection, and I assume RGB off as well, you're looking at about 60 hours, which is actually really pretty impressive. Also comes with an included micro USB cable, which has a lot of support in it, which is quite cool, although it does look to be so severely recessed that you're going to have a hard time using anything other than the included cable. So now you've had a rundown of the mice, we should talk about what they like to game on and if they're worth their money. Now the Ironclaw is a bit of a weird one because, as I said, it's a very large mouse, but it only weighs about 100 grams. So pairing that with the sort of less than perfect feeling plastics, it does feel a little bit cheap in the hand and almost feels empty inside, but it actually tracks incredibly well. In games I was very impressed with it, and while, as I said, it didn't quite fit my hand all that nicely, if you do have larger hands than mine, then I highly recommend you check this one out. The M65 Elite is a bit of a weird one as well. It still has the 3391 sensor like the Ironclaw, so it tracks incredibly well in games, and especially if you're an FPS gamer and you do want, you know, a few extra buttons on the side, then this is actually a very nice option for you. The fact that you can balance it with the weights is also quite nice, especially if you want to go a bit more on the pro side of things, but the fact that even without any of the weights, it's about 100 grams compared to something like a SteelSeries Rival 310, which is only 88 grams, it's a bit hard to recommend as, you know, the best mouse available. And I have to mention that the Rival is actually £15 cheaper at the time of filming than the M65, which for me feels like a bit of a no-brainer unless you really want the customization or the style of this one, but I suppose that's probably personal preference. And finally, the Harpoon Wireless. That one's actually a bit easier to recommend. It uses a PMW 3325 sensor, which is not quite as nice. It only goes up to 10,000 dpi, but still tracks incredibly well in games. The Slipstream Wireless works incredibly well and better than actually the Logitech G703 that I've got, and overall I was just very impressed with using it. Well, it's obviously not for me in terms of hand size, and I'm not a claw grip person. If you claw grip or if you just have smaller hands, I highly recommend this mouse. I'd also actually recommend it for an HTPC type setting because obviously claw grip means it's a little bit easier to use on a smaller space, and of course you know, the wireless technology, especially with Bluetooth and the versatility of being able to just switch between the two as well, is also pretty cool. The other thing to mention is, again, being a sort of travel gaming mouse, again, it's very impressive. The Bluetooth connectivity as well as the built-in and sort of, you know, travelable USB receiver is also a great shout. So yeah, fairly high recommendation, at least for the smaller handed or claw grip from the Harpoon. Now when it comes to reviews, the question that I always ask is, would I put this on my desk? For me personally, I'm going to answer just as a whole for all three because the answer is the same. Personally speaking, no. The closest that I would get to putting one of these on my desk is the Harpoon Wireless in terms of its versatility, and especially on the more travel side of things. But the Ironclaw is just a bit too big for me personally, and the M65 just doesn't quite live up to the SteelSeries Rival 310, for example, and so if I had to pick an FPS gaming mouse, I would personally go for the Rival over the M65, but again, that's personal preference. I would definitely love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Are any of these mice of interest to you? Have you already picked one of them up and you're just, you know, checking out reviews to see what other people thought? Let me know in the comments down below, as I would love to hear from you. Now, if you haven't yet picked up one of these mice, but you want to, or you just want to check out pricing when and where you watch this, as it can change, then take a look at the links in the description down below. There'll be a link to each of the mice where you can check them out there. You can also check out the rest of the links in the description. There's Amazon and Overclockers UK affiliate links, which massively help me out. They don't cost you anything, but they do, as I said, genuinely help. You can also check out the Patreon link where you can support me directly and get cool rewards for doing so, and a massive thank you to all the patrons who already are there. You can also check out merch for hoodies or t-shirts and a load of other stuff like private internet access, which is a great and cheap VPN. Or you can check out the Humble Bundle link, which is great for cheap games and supporting charities too. If you're new to the channel and you want to see more videos like this one, hit that subscribe button. I do videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday with live streams every Thursday nights, and if you want to check out more videos, there are plenty over here for you. Otherwise, as I said, if you've got any questions, leave those in the comments down below and we'll see you all in the next video.